Yeah, boy.
What's going on, guys? Today we are taking a look at another highly anticipated Outward build. My favorite way to play this game is to pick an element and make it super strong. And that is exactly what we get with the Frozen Behemoth build. This icy powerhouse makes use of almost every ice ability in the game. Go from shooting shards of frozen water to beating your foes with a super chilled mace. Oh, and you even get an ice sigil if you need it. Cold is one of the few elements that have a limited number of monsters resistant to it. This makes for some pretty single-minded gameplay without a lot of switching armor or weapon types. Join me as we become the Lord of Cold, Master of Ice, and Demon of Chersonese. This is the ultimate Frozen Behemoth build. To start our epic journey, we will need to head to Berg in the Endmerker Forest and join the Blue Chamber faction quest. Once this entire quest is completed correctly, we will receive the Blood of Giants, which grants us plus 40 health, Ancestors' Memories, which grants us plus 25 mana. As always, Peacemaker's Elixir, which grants us plus 20 health, stamina, and mana. And finally, the Crimson Plate set, which offers us a magnificent amount of cold damage and resistance. The key points in this faction quest are allying with the Giants by reading their history and giving them the root they request, helping Roland feel uplifted enough to become the Blue Lich and offer you more mana, and not dying during the last fight in Monsoon so that you get the full set of Crimson armor. At this point in the game, we actually have a pretty good head start on this build, so let's take a look at all the skills we need. Our most important task is to head to Levant and buy all the tier 1 skills from the Mercenary skill tree. The most important skill here is Frost Bullet, since, well, it does frost damage. Hop over to the slums and buy Sweep Kick from Styx. This will be important later. Next, head over to Monsoon and buy everything from the Philosopher skill tree except the Chakram skills and Fire Affinity. We want the Mana Regen from Leyline Connection, the Ice Sigil for more ice attacks, and the Mana Ward for one of those attacks. It is fine to ignore the rest of this skill tree, but the Fire Sigil can be nice if you run into icy enemies, so I say grab it as well. Walk about 10 feet from that trainer and talk to Galera for the Warrior Monk skill tree. We will once again grab all the tier 1 skills she has to offer, but then buy Steadfast Ascetic, Master of Motion, and Flash Onslaught. Now we have more stamina to counteract our heavy armor, additional melee attacks for close range combat, and plus 10 resistance to everything from Master of Motion. Lastly, we will need to walk over to the Rune Sage in Berg and buy everything except Internalized Lexicon. We want Runic Prefix instead. This skill tree will offer us tons of protection and elemental resistance, as well as a way to heal without using potions. Oh, and another plus 40 mana isn't bad either. Now, some people might want to choose the Cabal Hermit skill tree instead for the beloved Shamanic Resonance, which would increase cold damage as well as all your resistances. The problem with that route is we will always be using the cool boon to infuse ice into our gun, rendering the damage buff useless. Also, the Runic Prefix offers plus 10 resistance to elements, so you can still pop boons along with Runic Protection to get a similar effect. I will once again mention that you should grab all tier 1 skills from each trainer. The specific ones not yet mentioned that we need are Mana Push from the Cabal Hermit and Efficiency from the Speedster. Oh, and boons will be required as well. Definitely the cool boon from inside the Conflux Mountain. Now that we have the skills needed to be awesome, let's get the rest of our equipment. We already have our armor set, but it is important to note that the set will need to be enchanted with Aegis, giving a total of plus 4 extra protection. This build requires 2 guns as well. One will be the Cannon Pistol, and the other will be the Chalcedony Pistol. The Cannon Pistol can be purchased easily in Levant, and inflicts confusion that will be useful with Sweep Kick. You can actually enchant this gun using a Caldera enchantment called Levantine Secret to get extra frost damage and negative mana cost, but I did not do that for the video. It takes quite some time to get to that point. Additionally, the chalcedony pistol can be crafted with chalcedony, 1 palladium scrap, and a flintlock pistol. You should switch this out for the Hailfrost pistol from the blacksmith in New Sirocco since it does more damage. But again, that is pretty far towards the end of the game and the chalcedony isn't too difficult to craft. Speaking of New Sirocco, you should grab Dispersion from the Weapon Master once you get to that point. It can be switched out for one of your attack skills to do more damage. Our mace of choice is the Sky Crown Mace, of which does large amounts of cold damage. You will need to kill the first cannibal in order to grab it. This is another reason to grab the Fire Sigil, since the first cannibal is one of those ice-resistant enemies. If you are going to enchant this weapon, go with Whiplash for more physical damage. But I skipped this since ice is my go-to here. The backpack for this build is entirely up to you. There are a number of good choices that can benefit you along your journey. I chose the Buzu Hide backpack because it offers the highest carrying capacity for a bag that does not impede your dodge roll. You won't really want to drop your bag since you'll be switching between guns, ice sigils, and your lexicon most of the time. This brings us to our last piece of equipment, the Lightmender's Lexicon. It really only provides a little mana reduction when casting Runic Protection, since that is all we will use it for. This artifact can be found in the Voltaic Hatchery in Chersonese. This build will take some getting used to because you must switch items constantly while playing. You will want to constantly cast Cool Boon in order to infuse your 2 pistols with the Icy Shot. This skill alone will kill lower level and some mid-level enemies, which makes it a go-to since it costs nothing but mana. You will also need to make sure you switch to the Lexicon before fights so you get Runic Protection. Focus will also need to be used in order to give you more defense and a last attack with Flash Onslaught. Extra items you will need while traveling are Cold Stones, Discipline Potions, Star Mushrooms, Stamina Foods, and anything for heat since armor is kind of rough in hot weather. Ultimately, any of these items can be excluded if you are running out of space. Most of the time, you will not run out of mana, and stamina can be regened while using your guns and Ice Sigil. So let's take a look at a battle scenario. Your first move is to make sure both guns are loaded with the Ice Bullet. This can be done way ahead of time, but if you just got out of a fight, load it with Iron instead so you can still apply Confusion. Next, cast Runic Protection and replace the Lexicon back into your backpack. Any boon that helps against the element your enemy uses should be cast along with 1 Ice Sigil and the Focus skill. Run quite close to your enemy and shoot both of your guns. Next, run back to your Ice Sigil and cast Mana Push. Then use Mana Ward once the enemy is close to you again. At this point, you can start using melee attacks until your push and ward come back. Use Sweep Kick to knock the enemy down when needed and dodge as needed. At this point, most enemies will be dead, but if you are fighting a tougher opponent, you can use Flash Onslaught to finish the bugger off. Just be careful not to do this too soon since you will lose some of your defense. And there you have it, guys. This build makes use of pretty much only cold damage, but it is extremely versatile. Guns, magic, and melee are all intertwined into this build to prepare you for almost any situation. Just be sure you don't accidentally reload your guns mid-battle because the monsters will not stop and wait on you. In order to see how powerful this build is, here are all the stats that you actually get once fully combining your skills. You will need to take 3 points of mana for this build. We get plenty of mana from the faction quest and the rune sage, plus we have mana regen. If you do end up running out of mana, try maybe 4 points, but I do not think it will be necessary. That is about all I have for you guys today. Leave any comments down below if you're having trouble with this build, and I will catch you in the next video.